The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 36. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and today we get you guys ready for Cowboys versus Giants. It's a quick turnaround, and actually, I don't know if you guys know this. Something's going to happen this week. It's the first time in the history of the Cowboys. The Cowboys have never, ever in their entire history played a Thursday night road game coming off a Sunday game the week prior. Ever.
Interesting.
Which is something that most teams at this point are doing now that they have Thursday games. The Cowboys obviously play Thursday every year. They never have had to travel. The only time this has happened is in 2022 when they played a Saturday night game the week before. So they had 5 days rest instead of 4. But they have never in their history had 4 days rest and played a road Thursday night game. So we will get to see history.
What a time for it, too.
Yeah, and that's also
give me the Giants.
That's also the interesting thing. Like, as with all the issues that they've had,
give me the Giants.
with all the issues that they've had, like you kind of want to turn the page, but at the same time, your body's ready to turn the page with a 4-day, and that's the part you don't really know. Like that travel. I mean, we all will be on several of us will be on the plane tomorrow, and it feels weird, literally, on a Wednesday to get on a plane heading to another game, but there are other teams that have to deal with that. Cowboys have never had to.
Interestingly enough, I recently listened to a podcast, and I hate that I don't remember the name, but this lady, she does a bunch of studies on big time athletes.
Way to drop that in there.
No, but she does a bunch of studies on big-time athletes. Most of them are in the NBA. These are all names you know. But it's around sleep and how crucial sleep is. This is a no-brainer. We always hear this. But it specifically talks about how many times a team tends to lose when they travel to a different time zone.
Yeah. And sleep
that
gets disrupted,
even if you try to sleep how you should, I mean, there's all kinds of different elements that contribute to that. I don't know. It was just a very interesting thing that you don't really think about it that way, but there are studies that shows that typically you underperform when you travel somewhere else with a different time
Didn't
zone.
you guys travel to Baltimore for a Wednesday game one time and during COVID? The last time Dallas gave up a huge rushing game.
That was the game where I think they were supposed to play on Monday.
And ended up playing
was some. Nick was telling me about this in the game.
The Ravens got COVID.
Well, yeah, there was. I think Lamar Jackson or somebody had COVID.
Remember Dez? It was like the pregame. Dez was going to play against, and then he got tested.
That year was.
Did you guys make the trips?
No, during COVID I didn't travel.
I think only
Nick was the only person that traveled during COVID from our team.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they were basically like, you got one seat. Who would you like to send?
Yeah.
and we're like, we need a writer. We need a writer. Nick, you want to go? Yeah. So that's kind of
that was the last time that Dallas was really awful on the road. The most yards they'd given up was Baltimore in 2020, and I remember that season was like I thought it was a Wednesday night game. That the Ravens.
It definitely was off. I couldn't remember if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, but it definitely wasn't the normal schedule.
Yeah,
they had moved some things around because of what was happening with COVID. It was just as we know that was a weird year. But all that being said, you guys
going to do a deep blue on COVID thing, by the way, the COVID season.
You know what? We've thought about that. Here's the problem. Got no footage.
No footage.
Right?
They wouldn't let us shoot anything.
You know what we need to do? Let's reenact stuff.
No, we could do that. No,
let's have Amber has take swabs and jam them up your nose.
Amber has won Emmy Awards.
People in AT&T Stadium on Tuesday.
Amber has won Emmy Awards reenacting things for documentaries. So we could probably figure that out.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm just saying, like, we have no footage. We've talked about it. It's like, we got no footage of that yet.
Nobody ever, you know what? Who's going to tell that history?
I know.
I wonder who's
strange.
Because I always thought there was going to be a 30 for 30 about.
Me too.
Like, okay, the Lakers bubble team that won, the fact that, and then the Dallas Stars, even they had to go. They played in the Stanley Cup final playing in the bubble in Edmonton.
So the same people that produced The Last Dance sent the film crew and had people on site for the NBA bubble from start to finish. So
Okay.
Yeah, so
that'll
they'll have-
so there you go.
eventually
That-
come
And you know,
out, yeah.
but here's the deal: you got to remember that was only 4 years ago, Brian.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Feels like
all
an
those
eternity.
documentaries are coming in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
When they look back and want to do kind of a deep dive on it, you know, when most of us aren't still scarred by what we went through in 2020. You know?
It was amazing just what you had to do to come in this building. It was crazy how you guys were working and stuff like that. And I know we were on the road. I'm sorry. I know we're going to talk about the Giants here. We were on the road in Arizona at baseball. We were at the Texas Rangers, at spring training. And literally, like sports, we were watching. I was cooking red beans and rice for everybody. We had apartments and stuff, and I was cooking dinner. And then we were watching the Mavs game, and it just ended that night. And then the next morning, we go and the Brewers are playing the Royals. They're exchanging lineup cards. Major League Baseball comes on the field. Boop, this is over. And the next thing you know, we're broadcasting from empty stadium for 4 straight days, and like no baseball, not even knowing what was about to happen.
Yep.
And then I had just moved on from you at DallasCowboys.com, and I was thinking, I wonder if I get my old gig back.
we were in Pittsburgh. I was in Pittsburgh for a meeting.
Yeah.
And it was a meeting with a bunch of other teams
Yeah.
around the NFL. We were meeting with the app developer, and literally we went to a meeting that morning, and then we started hearing all this news. And I called back to Heidi, our HR person. I'm like, should we come home?
Yeah.
And she's like, you probably can finish up your meeting, but after you finish your meeting, try to go ahead and get back.
Yeah.
And literally the airport was I've never seen an airport like
flew-
this. Airport was empty.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get back home, and it was the eeriest thing ever.
We did. We flew home from. We were in Phoenix, and we flew home, and we were on an American Airlines flight that was completely empty.
Yeah.
And it was. There was. I think there were 7 of us on this
Weird
big old
time.
plane, trying to get home and all that. But yeah, it was a scary time for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be telling our grandkids and kids
I was going to
about.
say, I have a different perspective. I'll
Right.
be telling my kids here in
Right.
about 30 years, hopefully.
My kids lived it, so
Yeah.
I'll be telling my grandkids at some point what happened. But let's jump in. We got so much
ways
we got
away
to
from
We do got a lot
Cowboys
to talk about.
a long time from now, right? Let's talk about injuries first. There are a couple guys on the injury report. Marquise Bell did not practice with an ankle injury. The one that I thought was more important and more interesting was Kalen Carson. His shoulder injury had
a
him out of
bruise.
practice.
Yeah.
What do we know about it?
You got something, Nick?
You guys, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have it as a bruise. So maybe you have availability.
Yeah, so they'll know more today as far as the practice and how much they were able to participate. But I was talking about Kalen Carson and Marquise Bell, who's dealing with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
Both of those guys, they'll know a little bit more today. Bell left the game against the Ravens with that ankle injury. And then Carson, it was something that he was nursing after the game. And then yesterday he had ice pack on his shoulder during locker room availability. But sounds like we'll know more to that effect today. But, man, if you do not have Kalen Carson in a game that you're going up against an emerging rookie wide receiver from LSU. I saw someone tweet out yesterday. They said an LSU wide receiver is like picking a Kentucky guard in the NBA. It's like they're just continuously.
You know
like
they're going to be good, right?
You know they're going to be good.
And we'll be in that
neighbors.
Texas Bowl at 8-5.
Exactly. And everybody's going to be opted out.
Catch us in San Antonio.
Check out the 2026 first round pick. But yeah.
But draft day is going to be fun, right?
Draft day is a blast.
But if Kalen Carson cannot go, then you're probably
2
asking
Heisman Trophy winner
Andrew
quarterback.
That was crazy. Last night you watching that,
I
it's
know.
like we got 2 Heisman
I
Trophies
know.
that are in the NFL right now, and one of them won a championship. Though you got to
We
give
did.
credit.
That's
there.
why we'll never get another one, because we sold our soul to get that one in 2019.
Not to get too far off topic, but that throw that Jaden Daniels made
yeah.
in the final couple of minutes last
yeah.
night.
I was already making notes for the
Wow.
week we play the Commanders. Like, oh gosh, this is
Wow.
not going to be. This
That's
is going
the
to be one of
best
those
throw I've seen all
games.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is going to be one of those games. That was not. Quinn's gone there and actually made that team into a much. He's remade who they were, who we thought they were. Now I don't know how good they'll be all season, but they're a different team than
They
the
don't
last time
punt.
Cowboys played. them.
They don't
Yeah.
punt. They haven't punted in 2 games.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is wild to see Noah Igbenogany playing every single snap.
Yeah,
when
it
he
is.
was
I was like,
footnote
I'll
last
take.
season.
Yeah, we're ready for that part.
Yeah.
I don't know about all the rest of it, but Igbenogany, yeah, we'll deal with that.
Unreal.
We'll deal with that. All right, so let's talk a little bit. I know we had kind of got into this conversation yesterday on accountability. There were a number of players that have made statements since the game yesterday. I'm going to read a few of them, and I want to get your opinions on what you think of this and what you think it may mean. D-Law said, we got guys that can do it, It's just about effing doing it, and obviously talking about from the standpoint of being accountable. Dak Prescott says, us as players, we've got to be more professional and understand our jobs, understand where we're supposed to be, and do that time and time again and keep our focus. Micah says we need guys to play together, and right now we're just not in unison. We do what we're supposed to do, and we win the game. What do you guys make of these assessments? And I know you asked Coach McCarthy about this yesterday. Yeah. There was he responded in a way that probably was a little off, but I thought it was a fair question.
You got the drop beam? Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah, but I thought it was a fair question.
Pretty dramatic there, Nick.
Because I think all the players that were talking about it and saying, not just all, but your top line players are saying there's a certain level of professionalism. That's the name. That's the word that Dak threw out there, and they're saying that there's a problem with how guys are preparing and playing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think when everybody is speaking up to that effect, I think it's, these certain leaders, these certain team leaders trying to call out certain guys on the team that are not taking meetings seriously or not taking practices seriously. It was mentioned multiple times after the game on Sunday that last Thursday's practice was not good. And when you factor that in with a CeeDee Lamb not practicing on Wednesday, Trayvon Diggs not practicing on Wednesday, Thursday was really their only opportunity to get a full practice in and it not be a walkthrough setting. And if they can't come together and make that a strong practice, and it's not going to work out whenever preparation needs to become application on Sunday. So, how does that get corrected this week in a short week? That was my question yesterday, is like, hey, yeah, you have all these problems that your team leaders are talking about. Jordan Lewis mentioning details, Micah Parsons mentioning accountability, Dak with professionalism. How do you take that and work on that in only 3 days time and also still prepare for the Giants? I didn't get the answer to my question, but maybe we will get that as time goes on.
When I first, as we were doing the post-game show in the Miller Lite Club, when McCarthy said it first, and you're like thinking, oh, okay, that's not coach speak. That's, coach kind of, making his thoughts known. And then you started hearing the players talk about it. Then you knew there was a problem. That was all the things that were said after that game by everybody involved. Anything to do with practice or preparation always gets my attention, because people always say, that famous Allen Iverson, it's practice. Well, practice is important in the NFL. How you line up, especially when you play against a team that stresses you the way the Ravens does. We saw that firsthand. You don't have to, if you're a football fan and you just watch games, you know what Lamar Jackson can do as a ball handler. You know how he puts pressure on you. We've all seen, Henry run the football. We've seen this. We've seen the Ravens play. That's a very good football team. They were in the AFC Championship game last year. If you're not prepping well, being ready, doing everything you can to get ready for these games, they're going to embarrass you. And they did. They embarrassed you, and then they let you back in the game. But that's their history. We've talked about that. But you got embarrassed because, you looked like you weren't ready to play. And I mean, not ready to play is, assignments, and it took them 3 quarters to get the offense going. The defense was kind of, at times was really, really bad, and other times it was okay. They're capable. This is a very capable team. But if your head coach and your leaders of your team are talking about it, you got a lot of problems. You got a lot of problems. And like I say, I don't know if you correct those in 4 or 5 days. That's something they have to look at right now pretty strong. And I'm sure the general manager's looking at it, and he's had a discussion with the head coach about it. What are we talking about here? We're not prepping well? What's the deal? What are all these players talking about? Because he's getting asked about it. He's getting asked about it on our station, 105.3 The Fan, about things like that. So it's tough. If you're not prepping, you're not going to win many games, and they're an example of that right now.
Yeah, that's a tough one because, like you said, I mean, it all comes down to preparation and what happens during the week. And these players coming out and saying all these comments, I mean, you start thinking, okay, then what the heck is going on during practices? What are we doing here? Yeah. And to me, it goes back to leadership. It goes back to the coaching. And granted, this is just my assumption. That's what I can conclude or come to conclusion because I'm not there in those practices. But if I may, Nick,
absolutely, go for it.
Sorry, but Okay, I'm just gonna spit it out there. What I said, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay. I'm just coming into defense. But how are you gonna ask somebody if you practice a question when you yourself are being in question about practicing and the way you practice on the field? And yeah, I said it. Whatever. But it's the truth. Is the fact that it's been out there. The last thing you want is your own players speaking about preparation, the lack of preparation, speaking about the way you guys are training. Yeah, they're not calling people by name or anything, but that's what it leads back to the top. Who's the head of it? And again, I've given Mike McCarthy a lot of praise during his career here with the Cowboys because I valued the way he's trained these players overall during his, like we talk about mental health. We talk about giving them the rest that they need, trying to keep them as healthy as they can be. And I value that a lot. And I got to give him credit for those things that he's done here. But right now, in a year that is so crucial for so many people's career, your own personal
livelihoods,
career. So it's crazy because you can criticize us for maybe not executing certain things, but lack of preparation should not be one. Lack of being motivated and going out there and putting up a fight should not be one. So it's wild. It's wild because how do you fix that, like you said, in such a short amount of time heading into this week 4?
I will say this, and I think it was Dak. Correct me if I'm wrong. One of you may have heard the quote. I think it was Dak that, as he was kind of elaborating on what he was saying, one of the things he pointed out was watching film.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of preparation. So I want to be careful that this doesn't turn into the coaches didn't prepare them as much as it sounds like for me, what I'm hearing from the players is the players aren't doing the extra
what
thing.
they should do.
They aren't doing the little things that are the difference between winning and losing, whether that be going and spending that extra time in the film room, doing those extra things on the practice field that have you ready, being focused when you go to practice so that practice is crisp and clean and you're doing the things you need to do, knowing where you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to line up, how you're supposed to perform. That to me is not about coaching as much as it is about professionals being professional, which is how Dak put it. It's about being a professional. So I look at this and I'm like, there's a lot of guys in that locker room, it sounds like, need to pick up a mirror and look at it and say, okay, am I doing what I need to do to be a professional?
Just to be clear, I 100% agree with everything you're saying because I can't, like, it has to be up to you, some of the things that you do outside of what we're doing here.
You're a boss now, you know.
But, yeah. Oh, it's a lot of work.
Breaking news?
No, but my point is also, there is truth to you being a parent, having that role of like, okay, what what
are the consequences when you don't?
I mean, where's the belt? Where's the No, I'm just kidding. No, no, I'm totally kidding. I'm against that.
Poor Diego.
No, not once. Just kisses for my baby. But no, my point is you do need someone to kind of training you up and put you back in place where you need to be. So I think both things can be true at once. But I totally agree. It is up to you what you do in your own time where you're supposed to do your own kind of preparation and work for yourself. But that's wild.
Yeah, eventually the rubber's going to have to meet the road. And whether that be guys applying themselves and them getting it corrected or some major changes coming after the bye week, whether that be trading, personnel decisions. I mean, I think there's a lot. I think everything's on the table, especially when you factor in how many guys are on expiring deals. There's no tie to a lot of these guys after this season. That gives the front office a lot more flexibility if they feel like that they can make a couple of big moves and be a contender. But right now they are not, and they are not going to be until a few of these guys apply themselves.
Yep. All right, we're going to take our first break. We'll come back. We're going to jump into the Giants versus Cowboys. Bryan will give us a breakdown of first of the Giants offense versus the Dallas defense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Life doesn't stop when the economy is uncertain. The market might not care you have a wedding to plan or a kid to put through school. And inflation doesn't know you've got a family to feed. But Bank of America does, and is here to help. With digital tools to help you save and local experts nearby, you can keep life moving forward the way you need it to. Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back to the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, Bryan, tell us about this New York Giant offense and how it matches up with Dallas.
Yeah, they finally went out and got some skilled guys. It took them to go get another LSU guy. That's what they do. It seems like, we go back that this team has a history of drafting the LSU receivers and they're working out for them. Malik Neighbors is really where this thing's going to kind of start for them. I will say this, though. I really do like what they've tried to do with their running game and try to help Daniel Jones. With Singletary, the running back, Devin Singletary. And then they also drafted Tyrone Tracy, a running back, in the 5th round that's kind of done some nice things for him as well.
I like him.
But they've got a couple of quality guys. With Singletary, I mean, he's really good with, when they hand him the ball, it's kind of a straight-ahead attack, and he's really quick. He's nifty. He's shifty in the way that he can break tackles. He's to and through the hole. He could be a difficult guy to tackle. When you get around him, he kind of bounces off guys, and he's very successful at finishing runs. And so, you have to be on point. This is a team that's going to give you some of that RPO stuff. It's going to be the fakes. It's going to be multiple tight ends. It's going to be movement with the offensive line. They have to do a lot of movement with their offensive line because they're trying to protect it, because it's probably not their strength. I think there's a couple of different spots that you can attack this. Andrew Thomas is the left tackle for them, and I think he's susceptible to that inside moves, the power stuff that you want to do. So that would be the left side, be the right edge there. Maybe with Micah, you can get some things going over there with him. I think that if you look, they've got a really athletic center in John Michael Smits, who was a second-round pick, in 2023. They try and get him out in space. John Runyon, he's the son of the Runyon that played a while back. He's
Paul
Runyon. Yeah. But the thing with Runyon is that they're a little bit of a slow-footed group overall, but they try and do things by moving them in order so they don't have to get a lot of one-on-one stuff. They try and just, angle block the pin and pulls, the things like that, so they don't have to sit there and go with you just toe to toe. But I do feel like, though, that their number one pick, Andrew Thomas, is the one guy. And he was from the 2020 draft. I kind of feel like he's the guy that you really need to go after because he struggles. When you watched him last week against Myles Garrett and stuff, I mean, it was a problem for him to have to deal with power, quickness, guy with some burst. That would be the area that I would look at. I'll mention about also, I started with Neighbors. They've also got Darius Slayton. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is the other one that I would worry about the most here. Jalen Hyatt was a third-round pick from Tennessee a couple years ago. He's a vertical player, so if you're going to take a shot, it's going to be with 13. If you're going to do something out of the backfield or underneath, it's going to be Robinson, number 17.
He's the most targeted receiver they have.
Yeah, and then and Malik, and then but I talked about with Malik Neighbors. I mean, he is really their offense when it comes to throwing the football. He's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to make a ton of plays. The body control, the balance. He is a tough cover. They're going to move him around. They're not going to keep him in one spot. But when you have to have your attention on him because that's where Daniel Jones is going to throw the ball. He's either going to throw the ball to Robinson or Neighbors, or he's going to hand it to Singletary, and then away they go. So team will run some screens, they'll run some tosses, they'll run inside handoffs. It's kind of, they're doing everything in their power to kind of help Daniel Jones. Now, the problem with Daniel Jones at quarterback is he still throws the ball just to spots. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's times where he sees where he's throwing the ball or knowing what's in the area when he throws the ball. So you got to be ready for him just to, if Mike Zimmer can somehow, we talked about all summer how you can disguise coverages. You get the Giants to have to throw the football here. Maybe you could do something to kind of disguise some things to kind of give Daniel Jones some muddy looks, and you can maybe get a couple of cheap turnovers that way just because he's not seen you. But they have improved with the running back who they got from the Texans, and they have improved with Malik Neighbors as the wide receiver. He's going to be a guy probably at the end of the year that's going to be in the running for NFC Rookie of the Year with the way he's playing.
So looking at Neighbors, knowing that he is probably their most dynamic offensive weapon, would you consider, I know they don't do it often, but would you consider the possibility of Diggs traveling to stay with him because he is the most dynamic of the receiving threats that they have?
I think specifically with Carson being in the injury tent, I guess you could say, this week, I think there's probably a more possibility there, especially given that Malik is going to give you that physical presence. He's going to give you a little bit more push off the line than some of these other guys like a Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt. If you want your most physical guy on Neighbors at all times, then that's Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense to do that, but you wonder. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the times as Mike traveling guys.
Yeah, and let's also remember, on a short week, you travel one guy, you travel everybody. Which means now everybody's got to move, right?
Yeah,
and that may be tough to adjust to.
That's the problem.
One day of practice.
That's the problem. I think both teams are in a little bit of a bind that way when it comes to, and that's why I think they make these Thursday night games divisional games. If you notice, it always seems like it's two divisional teams because there's some familiarity with you trying to help these teams. He's going to be a tough cover in this thing. I mean, he really is going to be a tough cover. The key is going to be, though, if the Giants come out and they've got some RPO elements to their game, and they've got a quarterback that's not afraid to run, and like last week we talked about designed quarterback runs. This guy's got some designed quarterback runs. They get down in the red zone, and all of a sudden it's direct snap. They're pulling the tight end or an H, and they're blocking down, and they're leading up in the hole, and he's just straight power running for the goal line. So there's much like what you saw with Lamar Jackson, the design runs. They have some elements of this in their game plan. So, but they've upgraded their skill guys for sure at running back and then at wide receiver.
I think that's probably why it'd be more important in this game to jump out to an early lead, just to be able to force the Giants to work from behind. Because if we call back to training camp, and the big thing that was standing out about the Mike Zimmer defense was his use of disguises. And how much it was able to fool opposing offenses, or how much it could fool opposing offenses. First offense I thought about, in the first quarterback I thought about, was Daniel Jones, just because he has not been able to adjust well to post-snap differences based on what he was expecting pre-snap. Right. And I think if they can throw a little bit of disguise at him pre-snap, then it can you can start to snowball a little bit if you're trying to play from behind. So I think from a Cowboys perspective, get out to an early lead, maybe receive if you win the toss again. Maybe don't drop an F-bomb Israel Mukwamu this time, but nevertheless, I think getting out to an early lead could help.
Yeah, it makes me wonder too. Like they really that first game, the Cleveland game, is really the only game where Dallas forced the other team to have to throw the ball.
Yeah,
both the other two games, they really could just run the ball, and they just kept running the ball, and there was nothing the Cowboys could really do about it. And so it does make me wonder if you can get that lead and force a team to have to pass. You actually do play into the Cowboys' hands of their ability to then be able to force you to throw into disguises, and it allows Dallas to now go and get after the quarterback, which I think they do well. So it really is, the offense really is the best. If you want to fix this defense,
I totally agree.
The best way to fix it is the offense to get going early.
This might be an unfair question to you guys because maybe you don't have a great answer for it, but I'll ask anyway. Do you ever worry about this guy's first 15?
Who guy?
McCarthy's
first 15 minutes.
For 15 plays.
15 plays.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a fair question.
And I don't want to pile on a guy or anything like that, but I feel like to me,
don't be dramatic.
Yeah, the last. Maybe I need to pile on this guy. The thing is, well said. But the thing I just I wonder about the first 15. Do you go back and you check? You know, they went out last week with the intent like, yes, we want the ball, and then the first 15 was to throw the ball immediately into the flat to Rico Dowdle or to run a spot route to Ferguson for the first play, and I'm like going. You're not calling the game right now. Now, he had the penalties and the motions and all those things. That was a problem. But I wonder about this guy's first 15, the last 2 weeks especially, with the way things have kind of gotten off a little slow for him.
You think about the elite, or guys you would consider elite offensive play callers in the NFL, they always have an opening script that just has a little bit of razzle-dazzle in it.
Yeah.
It's got some intention. It's got some effort. I haven't really seen intention from an opening script from Mike McCarthy. Even going back to last season, too. I think there was some times last season where it was like, okay, when is this offense going to pick it up? And then they finally do, and they're able to find a stride. But when you don't have a running game in a Mike McCarthy offense, a guy who wants 4 tight ends on the field, he wants a fullback in your offense because he wants to run the ball. He's not going to have an opening script that works out for him.
Well, but that might be also what he's working with here is knowing that the running game may not be exactly what he wants. He may be thinking, are there ways for me to get some of these quick passes, get guys out in the flats, force the defense to have to think about the whole field, and then that may open up things as you go, may open up the running game even as things go. Like he may be trying to set up what he needs to do later in the game, knowing that my running game isn't going to do that for me. A lot of teams can use their running game to set those things up. Dallas doesn't have that kind of running game.
I'll tell you what, though, whatever he did at the end of the third and into the fourth, if it was tempo.
It was tempo.
And I was watching the substitutions of the receivers during that. 3 on, 3 off, 3 on, 3 off, 3 on, 3 off. And, it's like they'd run deep. They'd all run routes 3 on, 3 off. And
they were just running.
If that's how you're going to have to play to kind of get things to open up a little bit, man, I'd sure consider it. With the weather maybe cooling off a little bit, maybe you're not worried about your guys getting completely gassed.
Yeah.
But they had a really he was in a little bit of a rhythm. They were in a rhythm play calling until they fumbled the ball. CD fumbles the ball, so he's got to find.
How do you get to that state? How do you get yourself and the team to get started that way? Because again, I think you
just right off the jump. I think just right off the jump,
just come out in your 2-minute offense.
Just come out, yeah.
We've seen Cowboys teams do that where they just go tempo early in the game just to kind of get it going.
Look, there are teams that do that,
no doubt,
especially in the college game. If we
watch Tennessee or people like that, and not the Titans, the Volunteers, they play with a lot of pace and so now you're kind of like thinking, well, what was Dallas having success doing? It was 3 on, 3 off, 3 on, 3 off. And, Ferguson, Schoonmaker, those guys they were kind of shuffling in and out. Hunter Lipke was the protector. No, now Dowdle's the protector. No, now we're going to use both of them. I mean, you had the substitutions were really good. The play calling was really good. And the execution was even better. I mean, that's what got you back in the game.
Oh, I just had an epiphany. I talked about the injury report. John Stevens wasn't on the injury report.
He was full.
That's what I'm saying. I was
and I kind of got an understanding what's going on there. They're thinking they're now having a hard time getting him on the game day roster.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was an injury reason.
Nope,
he
it's
was
not.
inactive.
It's they're the span forward, and if span forward keeps
I was going to say, what is Span Ford really providing for you at
Well,
this
that's
point?
what I'm saying. They have a plan for Span Ford, but if he keeps doing what he's doing, he might as well be standing over by us.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, but I asked the question last week, hey, is this the week that we see John Stevens? And I got it's going to be hard to get him up. We only have so many numbers we can bring up. And I went, oh, okay. I guess we're going to see Span Ford play again this week, kind of a thing. So,
see, I might even go the route of being like, okay, if the understanding is that Span Ford provides something from you from a blocking standpoint, I'd be like, my running game isn't really doing what I wanted to do anyway. Yep. I'm just going to put my best athletes on the field. We're just going to spread it out, and we're going to throw. And that's just kind of how we're going to have to do it.
Especially when the Ravens had trouble covering tight ends.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a very good plan without having tight ends.
I'd love to ask. And I thought Stevens was a better – maybe it is special teams because I thought Stevens got better as a blocker, at least what we saw in training camp this year.
Yeah, because you think about it, Fossil already lost one special teams guy this week, and Nick Vigil, he's out of elevations. So unless they bring him to the active roster, Fossil's already going to have to figure out somebody else to put in that unit. And if you're asking him to also take away Brevin Span Ford, who he uses, I think, in at least 3 of the 4 of his punt coverage, kick return, punt return phases, then that's 2 guys you're asking him to do.
I know there are 3 phases to the game.
Special
right
teams
now, I got bigger problems right now on offense and defense, and I would be like, let me just focus on that right now, and we'll figure it out.
Just put Hunter Lipke on the side where you have to have 4 guys.
Did you see the tackle he made on special teams last week?
Yeah,
just came out of nowhere.
My man plays
100
plays a game.
He's a good player. All right, let's go to take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get a little talk on this Giants defense versus the Cowboys offense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. All right, Brian, Giants defense versus Cowboys offense. What do we got?
Yeah, real quick, if I could. It's really going to start with their front. With you look at Brian Burns, who they traded for from Carolina, and then Kayvon Thibodeau. They're very talented, player from Oregon they drafted several years ago. They've got really good defensive ends, and they've got one of the best defensive tackles in football, and Dexter Lawrence. And when you watch Dexter Lawrence play, he is going to be a handful for BB. He's going to line up on BB's nose, and he is going to push BB all day long. And so,
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, how well they handle Dexter Lawrence. They get when they get in nickel situations to rush the passer, he stays on the field. Here's a guy that's a really good run defender, but he's a really good pass rusher. Yeah, just by his push. And so you got to figure out Burns and Thibodeau. They'll flop sides. I haven't figured out kind of the rhyme or reason why. Maybe they're hunting some matchups there, but this defensive line at the defensive tackle spot, they have this kid named Elijah Chapman that was a college free agent that they got this year, he's number 94. They play some twist games and stuff with him and Lawrence and sometimes with the ends. It's pretty impressive how they get after the passer. Their linebackers are a pretty normal group. Micah McFadden, number 41, I kind of feel like is their player that you have to worry about as far as the pressure. Bobby Olerike plays the opposite side. He's kind of like the middle linebacker. So they've got two solid linebackers, kind of like what you were dealing with the Saints, and the Saints did a pretty good job against you. But McFadden was the one you have to worry about him, number 41. They'll bring him on blitzes, and he's created pressures, and so his numbers for those are pretty good. They've been banged up in the secondary, and that's going to be a problem for them right now. Banks, their one corner, I think is a good player, but he struggled a little bit. They've struggled with the help with Nick McLeod, who they got off waivers from the Buffalo Bills, and he hurt his knee in the Minnesota game, and he hasn't played the last 2 weeks. And with a short week, there's questions whether he'll play this week. That means that Cordell Flock will play. He's an LSU kid. I'm very familiar with him. He's very thin. He's not very strong. He's been on the team since 2022, and teams have gone after him a lot. He gives up. He doesn't play as up on you like Banks. Banks wants to play up on you and give you like no throws. He's a tight window guy. Flock on the other end, he's more of a play back, and you can kind of get separation on him, but he's not a very physical player. I would definitely attack him. They've got a safety with Jason Pinnock. He's another guy that likes to blitz. He's got 3 sacks. You watch the games when they're pressure, he'll come across the formation chasing somebody, and then next thing you know, he's blitzing on the play. He's their free safety. So they've got some guys that I feel like you can kind of take advantage of, especially if Flock, and then Adoree Jackson, number 21. He's a veteran player that they've had through the years, and he's a guy that's kind of struggled a little bit at times. Drew Phillips, who is the nickel, number 22, has given up some plays this year. So if they don't get you with a pass rush or pressure, their secondary has given up some plays. That might be your calling card today to find some separation and then make some plays on these guys.
Yes,
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm with you. It starts with this front, and they've done such a good job of building around Kayvon Thibodeau over the course of the last year. It started when they traded for Dexter Lawrence last season, just in a season that I think they expected they weren't going to be able to do anything. Tommy DeVito was a starter by week 6, week 7, and they still went out and got him to understand what he could be valued in the future. They go and get Brian Burns over the offseason, and then Bobby Okereke. I think he's one of the more underrated linebackers in the NFL. I think he does a really good job of just being able to command that defensive front and do a really good job stepping up and run fit. So if you're looking for the Dallas running game to open up a little bit this week, this might not be the week, but I think you can attack this young and unexperienced secondary for the Giants. You talk about Andrew Phillips, rookie out of Kentucky. I liked him in the process, but I think he's still a little green when it comes to playing in the secondary in the NFL. He's also battling a calf injury. He did not practice yesterday. Same with Adoree Jackson, battling a calf injury, did not practice yesterday. You talk about Nick McLeod. He was limited with his knee yesterday, so he was at least back on the field. But then you look at Tyler Nubin, strong safety out of Minnesota. I believe they got him in the second or third round.
Second round this
past year. I really liked him as a run defender as well. So, I mean, that's just another guy in the third level that they have that can step up and play in the run. But I feel like you can beat these guys over the top. I think if CD wants to have a game to where he's kind of shakes off the emotion of last Sunday, this might be an opportunity to do that. But I'm also looking at Jake Ferguson as well. I think there's some opportunities in the seams.
I think the player that scares me more than anybody else is Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah,
you mentioned him, and what you mentioned was he stays on the field during those passing downs.
Yeah.
He right now is tied for tied for sacks on this team with 3.
Yeah.
Pinnock is the other guy, the safety you mentioned.
Yeah.
To say that
got
he's
3 sacks?
Yeah, Pinnock has 3 sacks. Yeah, so the safety's coming, and your defensive tackle is tied with him with 3 sacks. Averaging a sack a game. So yeah, this is going to be a challenge for Beebe particularly. This is going to be this may be the toughest challenge he's had to this point so far in this young season.
Yep.
All right, let's get some picks here. Amber, let's start with you today. Where are you going?
I'm picking the Cowboys to win this one. I think that somehow they manage. My thing that I'm holding on to is kind of they typically tend to play pretty well against the Giants in general. I think the tight end position has always been a key position when facing the Giants. So I think maybe this is a game where Jake Ferguson comes more into play and has a good game against this team, is able to score some points. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys, and I'm going to go with 27-17.
Nick?
All right. I'm going to take the Cowboys as well here. I think they do rebound.
Why are you laughing, Bryan?
Because he's about to be on the island that I was on last week.
Look at his smirk. Being please zoom in.
I picked the Ravens.
I was on the island last week. You 3 all picked the Ravens.
Oh, okay. I completely missed that. I think the Cowboys rebound 27-24. I think the passing game might be just a little bit too much, but this is definitely a concerning one.
Yeah, this one is going to be a concerning one. The Giants are going to win this game 26-23, and they're going to win this game because Dallas has some problems defending the run. And I have a feeling that the Giants are going to commit to it, and they're going to try and make Dallas defend this thing. And they run some of the RPO stuff. Their offensive line isn't as good as the one you just played. But I tell you what, I like the receivers. I like what they've got on defense with the defensive tackle and the linebackers, and the secondary. Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem, but I think the Cowboys haven't corrected their problems yet, and I think things on a short week get maybe a little worse for them.
I look at this team, and I don't see necessarily. I see a team that's okay and capable. Yeah. I see a team that's more like Cleveland than they are like Baltimore or New Orleans. And so I look at that and I say, yes, they will try to run. And I think Dallas may have some moments when the run, they don't necessarily stop the run as they've done throughout the season so far. I just don't know if they have enough. And I also think that if Dallas's offense gets on track, which I have no reason to believe they won't against this defense, then I think it will put the pressure on Daniel Jones that we've seen in the past. That's how you beat them, is you make him have to throw the ball, and that's how Dallas wins. So I think Dallas ultimately wins this game. I don't think all their problems are fixed, though. I think we're still in here on Monday and saying, man, what's going on with this run defense? What's going on with this run offense? Like, there will still be things that they have to work on, but I do think they get a win just because I think they are the superior team. I think the ultimate final score, I'll say 27-12. 27-12.
Like it.
Seriously, you're gonna break this table someday.
What are you talking about?
You just like banging on it with your rings.
What?
These guys.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We're heading out tomorrow. We're heading to New Jersey for Cowboys versus Giants. Till then, for Nick Harris, Bryan Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!